Right, Alex. So, quick little thing there on the stuff we were doing with moldings. So, I'll just do that moldings pattern that I want you repeating over and over again, and then we'll just talk about a couple of other little points, okay? So, first of all, your position. Typical thing to do is lean on the pickup and bring it up here, right? So, it shouldn't be like this, okay? Not too curved up. We want it up the way so we get this kind of walking motion like that. A slight curve is fine, but it shouldn't be show the camera like that. Okay, so we're going to start off with the A note. So the song is in the key of A, right? So that means we're going to be more on what it means to be in a certain key in a little while. But for now, it starts off on an A chord, so we need an A bass note to go along with that. Okay, so now this is the E string. Strings get their names just from the notes that you normally get, depending on if you're tuned normally. The notes that you normally get when you hit them open. So that's E, A, D, G. All right. So now I was saying, how do you find your notes? So how do you know what note is that, and all that? You need to know the chromatic scale. So the chromatic scale is just all the notes with nothing skipped. Okay. So there are 12 notes, 12 musical notes. Well, for the music that we'd be likely to listen to anyway. They go from A to G. They all have sharps, one above. So sharp just means one up. So that if that's A, the one above that is A sharp, then B. Then you go to the next letter. You have a sharp, one above, and then you go to the next letter, except for B and E. Okay, so B goes straight to C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E. E is the other exception. E just goes straight to F, F sharp, G, G sharp, and then once you get past G sharp, you're back to A again, right? So that's why pretty much all guitars have a double dot or some kind of more significant marking on the 12th fret. The 12th fret is the halfway point from the nut, which is that white bit there, to the bridge. All right. So how do we find an A note? We'll start off on the 6th string. So we've got the 6th string. That's an E note. No E sharp. So F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A. So we're going to go kind of fairly flat fingered on this because we don't want to stand up like this because you're going to have a whole lot of ring out and all that kind of stuff there. So we're going to get flat on it. Here's our position here. And then there's our first note. Okay, so we've got this first note here, right? And it's not... We don't let the notes just ring out all the way, right? So there's kind of a little bit of a stop there, a bit of a rest, okay? So we've got stop. Now, two ways of stopping it, right? The easiest way is just to release the pressure from your finger. See, I'm not lifting my finger off it. I'm just not pressing it down anymore. I'm staying in contact with it. It's the contact that stops the note. Another one is just to put this finger back down on it. Okay. So then, with your little finger or your third finger, I'd get used to using your little finger straight away. Obviously on bass in particular, the frets are quite a bit apart, so you need that extra reach. And make sure as well that your fingers aren't kind of pointed in at each other like that. Make sure you can you get your arm, and your arm matters. It's not just here, right? The way your arm approaches the neck matters quite a bit. So just move it around a little bit so that you can put something that looks like this on the fretboard, this kind of fan shape where everything is pointing out the way. So we've got their A note and then the 5th, right? More on that later, but basically what that means is the 5th note of the corresponding scale. We'll get into the scales in a little while, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, okay? 5th, 1/5. The 5th is always down a string and up 2 frets, or just up a string, same fret, okay? More on that later, but for now... Now, so on the right hand, we're hitting... You can lead with your index or your middle finger. That's okay. So we'll hit this one. Stop. Stop. And then we're coming down here. Now, just make sure you don't get into the habit of using the same finger twice in a row. Unless you've just got a very long note, in which case it doesn't really matter. But anything that's even remotely fast has got to be like this walking motion here, right? So, boom, stop. Now you see the way I'm using a kind of what's called a resting stroke here. I'm pulling back on one string and then just landing on the string above it, right? That kind of just keeps things a bit tighter. I want you to move this shape around as well. This will be relevant later for a lot of stuff. Let's take it down a string. Up 2 frets maybe. So that's the exercise. I know that's not exactly how the song goes, but that particular pattern is going to be very relevant, okay? So we're starting off 5th fret on the 6th string, and then 2 frets up from that on the next string down, and that's the shape we're going to keep. So 4 on that one, maybe 2 on this one, then we'll take it up 2 frets. And just on and on and on, nice and steady with that. The other little thing we did, as I said, it may not be terribly relevant to what you're doing, but it's no harm in kind of getting used to the motion now, is the slap. So as I said, kind of just hanging down here with your thumb more or less perpendicular to the strings. And it's this, so it's not this. Well, mostly, you know, a little bit of that doesn't do any harm, but not until you've got this figured out, okay? And your thumb has to bounce off the string. It can't. Hear that? Because I'm kind of pressing into the string and I'm staying in contact with it for too long, so the note doesn't really get a chance to vibrate. So, and you hear those other ping, pong, ping. Those are called harmonics. We shouldn't be getting those, right? That's what it should sound like, and it should sound the same every time. Okay, so that's the slap, and then the pop, either your first or your second finger in under the string, pull it out, and then we'll just add a little hammer on. So hammer on just means smacking your finger down on the string after you hit it. So just for now, just limber here. You can't be, if you're tight here, there'll be too much contact on the string. You gotta be kind of loose here. Okay? All right, so keep it up with that. The main thing, though, is this. Okay? And just start moving around on it. And, you know, mess around with it as well. Get physical with it. Get comfortable with it. Because it is a fair old big bit of a plank of timber, so you need to get kind of physically comfortable with it as well. And just remember, when it comes to your left hand, bring the elbow in a little bit. Get that fan shape on there, because you need that reach. So if you find your fingers kind of like this, where they're kind of, see the way they're kind of pointing in towards each other, that's not ideal. Get them kind of pointing outwards. All right, so see you again on with that, and I'll see you next time.